You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
Show. I'm your host, Dr. Kristen Lyerly, and right now it just kind of feels like we got the kids off to school and we're taking a few minutes for ourselves, just grabbing a cup of coffee together in Sister Bay, thinking about all the stuff on our to-do list. Is that the kind of vibe that you're getting this morning, ladies?
That's exactly how our morning has been going. The kids made it on the bus.
Good work. And it's the beginning of the school year, so you're not in your pattern yet.
Day one. Yeah, total chaos.
Oh, boy. Day one. Oh, my gosh.
But Emily's youngest made it to kindergarten.
My God.
Yes.
So ready. Didn't want to be walked down.
Yes.
Were there tears?
No, actually. A big hug between me and my husband. But she was like, high five, and I'm out of there, which I guess is what you want, ideally.
I'll tell you that my baby also went to school this morning. He started on Friday, but he's a junior. Oh, that's right. And we're to the point now where he's like, Mom, could you just make sure I get up at 6:20?
Oh my gosh. He's your last,
my alarm.
He's your last one. Oh my gosh. I know, and I know we're going to snap and it's going to be there too.
Yeah. And then you just won't even be able to remember all of the effort and time. And I know it's going to happen, but you'll kind of miss it, but you kind of won't.
We'll be celebrating too.
But yeah, so between Sarah and I, we've got 6 kids in the Gibraltar school system, which is just a large percentage.
All girls.
Wow. And we're going to get to that. But first, let me introduce you. So today I am honored to be joined by 2 women who are doing truly inspirational things in their community, things that they probably hadn't envisioned just a few short years ago. When the Dobbs decision came down, Emily Kraynak and Sarah White weren't seasoned activists. They were working moms with really young kids, trying to juggle professional responsibilities while trying to make sense of what's happening in this crazy, rapidly changing world. And like so many of us across the country, they felt compelled to do something, but didn't quite know where to start. So what began as a response to that pivotal moment has really blossomed into something far more enduring: Northern Door Activism. It's a Wisconsin-based community organization that is redefining what grassroots engagement can look like. And rather than following traditional activist playbooks, Emily and Sarah and their partners have crafted something uniquely their own, blending community building with advocacy in ways that reflect the character of their little corner, their little peninsula of Wisconsin. From creative events that bring neighbors together to innovative approaches that make political engagement accessible to busy parents and working professionals, they've discovered that sometimes the most powerful change happens when you start exactly where you are with exactly who you are and build out from there. So today, we're diving into their journey from concerned community members to skilled community builders and exploring how they've created space for others to find their own path into civic engagement. So joining me today are Emily Kraynak. She is a social worker with a background in online community organizing and, as she mentioned, the mom to 3 young girls, as well as Sarah White, who is a recently retired healthcare leader, amazing, now running a small community business in Door County with her husband, also an activist and mom of 3 young girls. And your girls are pretty much inseparable, yes?
Yes. It's a good thing we like each other.
Yes, it is.
And our husbands do too.
I know.
We lucked out.
Yeah, there are, I think, 6 girls between the ages of 5 and 10. Right? So it's never a quiet moment.
Yes.
That's a lot of, I have 4 sons. So between us, we have 10 kids.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of girls.
A lot of girls. It's nice we can pass clothes back and forth. I mean, it's great.
Oh my gosh. So together, along with a handful of other friends, you co-founded Northern Door Activism, which is an organization that, and I'm quoting from the website, aims to shine a light on critical issues and create awareness at a local level in Northern Door County. So thank you for making the trip down to Green Bay today to have this conversation. And I'm just remembering back to the first time that we met at the Alpine.
Alpine, that's right.
Yeah, in 2022. And you had all this energy, but didn't know where to go with it. How do you go from there to here?
Well, I feel like that conversation with you and some of the other Green Bay voices helped kind of propel us to where we are now. And I think this is a constant evolution is one of the things that Emily and I and the whole group were finding. What does the environment look like? What does the community need? I think we're kind of constantly checking that and then evolving as, you know, we realize what the critical issues that we feel called to address are. I don't know, Em, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm thinking back to that moment because I think a couple of us that were there felt so inspired by you. And it was because I think you saw us as activists and you saw that there was something there, which then we looked in ourselves and, oh, maybe we are, right? And I think that feeling is something that we've been trying to pass along to other people too, which we'll talk about later. But I think that conversation, just gave us the confidence to be like, okay, this isn't as scary or as overwhelming as we think. We can just make it exactly what we want it to be. And I think that's where a lot of those first events specifically were sort of like, well, what would we want to go to? Like, what event would we want to have? And then trying to create it. So that first event you were at, we ended up having a women's reproductive healthcare panel that September, I think, just like a month later, which is wild. But yeah, it's just been sort of going from there with that in mind. Like we always, when we come together as a group, we say like, A, what's already out there, right? We don't want to repeat things, but B, like, what would we want? What we want to exist? What could we imagine? And trying to, like, as much as possible, make it happen.
And part of it for us too is we do all have young kids, and so making sure that our kids, not always, but many of the events, we do ensure that there's a way that we can help create that activism model for our children, because we think that that's also a really important part of what we're trying to create. So making it, being able to translate that to kids is important.
That's one of my favorite things about your events is that the kids are there and they're engaged and they're together. And it's that whole sense of it is truly community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm thinking too, like one of the groups we partner with often, which our next event that we have, we're partnering with Indivisible Group, which in Door County has ended up being a lot of folks that are retired. And it's like, that's what community is. It's my 5-year-old with, Mike, who's, I don't know how old. Mike, love you, Mike.
We love you, Mike.
Who's retired. And like, we do need to all be together if we want to see change happen and if we want to build a stronger community. And I think our march on July 2nd that we had it's so cool when you see that real, like just a cross section of the community working together towards something.
And learning from one another.
Exactly. Learning from what's worked and what hasn't.
Yeah. And normalizing having your voice heard, right? Like that's part of it too. Because to what Emily started with, like we were like, okay, how do we do this? And when we met you and kind of felt that, okay, we can do this. We can figure this out. Making sure, to Emily's point, others feel that too.
Yeah, no, you are doing the inspiring. Yeah, but you got there. It wasn't like we just found each other on a street corner. I mean, you came together and you said, we want to do something. And all you needed was a little spark of inspiration. And it was at that event, that initial event at the Alpine, that we started talking about what is it that you want to do? What would be meaningful to you? And reproductive rights, I think, was the thing that brought you together in the first place. So that was the logical next step. But that's not something for everybody. But in a way, it kind of is. And you've really embraced that to be something for everybody in your community. Talk about that a little bit.
That is an issue that I am very passionate about. I think that coming from healthcare and seeing how critical it is that women can have a conversation with their physician and that conversation can be honored is healthcare. I think it's really important for us to help educate people on what we all mean when we say reproductive rights and ensuring that women have their voice. we are, there's such an inappropriate understanding, I think, sometimes of what that means. And I think one of the things that we are working really hard to do is make sure that our children understand what we mean when we talk about reproductive rights, how important it is from a medical and healthcare standpoint, how absolutely heartbreaking it is to ever have to be in that situation. And I think people don't understand that. And I think part of our job is to be able to have that conversation and to bring it to, somebody who maybe is uncomfortable with that conversation, or somebody who has a different understanding of what, reproductive rights or women's healthcare actually means. To me, that is one of the most important reasons that this group exists, was really to start that conversation. I think it's really devastating what we're going to see happen in the next several years because of some of the decisions that have been made at the federal level around women's right to choose what happens to their body.
Yeah, I think the only other thing that was sort of passing through my mind with that topic in mind, but I think this applies to all of the issues that we're working on, is we have made a choice as a group to try to broaden things. So they feel very divisive, but in actuality, there's a Venn diagram and there's a lot of things that we do agree upon with, quote unquote, the other side, right? And we live in a county that's just barely blue, right? Like just barely. And that just happened in 2024. So we interact with, we work with, we teach, we support people from all sides. And we really do, have more in common than we don't. I still believe that. I think there's a lot of people that understandably get frustrated and want to just, forget it all. But I think that our group understands that there's a lot of, take youth mental health was another panel that we did, I think the spring after the reproductive health panel. And part of the reason we did it was who could say that they don't want our kids to have good mental health, right?
Right.
So we use that as a topic to try to bring together people to just educate them. We had local therapists on, we had folks that worked in the school system, and we've done it also with an anti-gun violence campaign where we're really hoping to make it not left or right, but just progress as a community and the topics that we all care about.
And what's been really neat about what Emily is, like how Emily is approaching this and how we as a group are trying to approach it, is we then have these events and then we are in the community, like she said, and we're able to have that conversation. Last night or 2 nights ago, we have some really dear friends who vote the other way, and we talk about it. We live in such a small community that you can't, you can't avoid that. And we talk about it. And we were actually talking about the horrific school shooting that just happened in Minneapolis, where Harper and Fletcher were both killed. And in that conversation with our friends who are on the other side, they were equally absolutely devastated. And, how do we prevent this? What's the right solution? And able to have a conversation with the kids at the center, right? Mm-hmm. To say, this is unacceptable and we as a nation have to change.
And we have so much more in common than the stuff that divides us. Yes. And that is exactly what you're doing, is finding that common ground. We are going to have to take a short break, but when we continue this conversation, we're going to talk about accessible activism, and we're going to listen to some pretty cool Door County music. You're listening to the Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show on WGBW, WISS, streaming on the Civic Media app and podcasted on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Substack, and wherever else you get your podcasts.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
Mountains past the heavens, past the sunshine, I still see in your eyes.
Welcome back to the Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show. I am Dr. Kristen Lyerly, and I'm joined by Emily Kraynak and Sarah White. They are co-founders of Northern Door Activism, a community building organization in Northern Door County that they were inspired to create after the Dobbs decision. Ladies, Door is such a unique area. Culture, art, music are so important. And Emily, when I asked about music, because I always love to feature a local musician, immediately you were like, I know exactly who our person is going to be. Tell us about her.
I love her. So Dorothy Scott, I believe, is on our email list. And I was very, very excited to see that. Sarah and I are huge fans. I think we first saw her at a Haiku Milieu event, which took place in February in Cress. So for those of you who say there is nothing going on in the off season in Door County, I will disagree. There's a lot of stuff to be had. She's been in the area, I think, for a couple, maybe 2 decades now, but was out of New York, has partnered with some of the biggest names in all of music, and we get to have her right here in our backyard. So I'll pitch it really quick since we have a moment.
Definitely,
but she's going to be one of our Northern Door Activism members, owns and runs Woodwalk Gallery in Egg Harbor, and they are doing an event for women. There's a makers market, which will feature women makers from 2 to 6 this coming Sunday, which would be
Sunday, September 7th.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then at 6 p.m., Dorothy will have a concert there. And it's just a beautiful setting. It's an old dairy barn that they've restored and covered in gorgeous art on a setting with wildflowers and meadows. And it's a really, really lovely way to spend the night. So check that event out and check out Dorothy if you don't know her already.
We also followed Dorothy to the Tarleton in Green Bay.
Oh, yeah.
Fan club. And then we, have to buy the shirts and then followed her.
I almost wore the shirt today because I have a Dorothy and the shirt says I'm with Dorothy.
I love that.
Yeah. Oh, but isn't she just, she's magical. And it's funny because I was thinking about her in the context you'd asked for musicians. But at this haiku event, each artist wrote a haiku and then wrote a song based on the haiku that they wrote, if that makes sense. But do you remember hers? I was thinking about it yesterday.
Tell me again.
I think in the context of this conversation, it makes sense. It says, if you are at war with anyone but yourself, you've already lost.
Wow.
And I go back to that a lot because it's so easy to get angry about what the other side is doing or what is happening. But really, we have to start with ourselves and what we have the power to do ourselves. And so shout out to Dorothy.
Well, I feel like mic drop. Like, are we done? That was so beautiful, Emily.
I can't believe that just came out of your head. I would be stumbling all over the place trying to remember.
It's been in my head since I saw her that night.
But she does this. Like her brain, I don't know how it works. We're all in NDA. We're trying to figure this out. But the way she can recall information and store it is incredible.
Oh, man.
And she does this on the email listserv for NDA. So the Northern Door Activism emails, she's been the one this year really sending those that voice out on behalf of NDA. And it's so, we'll talk about accessibility, I know later, but it is so accessible, the way in which she communicates and writes. And it's really like you're having just this kitchen table conversation. So I just want to call you out for that because it's really lovely.
Thank you. I love it.
Where can people find out more about this event? Is there a link? Is there a website that they should go to?
So the event for Dorothy should be on the Woodwalk Gallery website. It's not a Northern Door Activism event, but we do partner. I mean, Jocelyn is one of our members. She hosts events. She hosts Northern Door Activism events at Woodwalk.
And that's woodwalkgallery.com.
I believe so.
I looked it up.
Okay, good. Yeah.
See how we do
You're
this?
ready. You're ready.
That's fantastic. And it's not just Dorothy. There are other people. I mean, I know, Emily, you were thinking Dorothy was the person you wanted to highlight because of the event that was coming up, but there were other people you had in mind as well.
Katie Dahl.
Katie Dahl.
I believe
She's
also on our list. Not to brag, but I get very excited. I mean, that's what's so cool though, is our county is just filled with interesting, creative people. We have poet laureates in the county, which I didn't know until recently. They had done events at Woodwalk, and Jocelyn put us in touch. And so I met with Carrie Sherrill. She and her husband are the co-poet laureates. They're doing really interesting work. They attend art galleries and help lead poetry sessions based on responding to a piece of art. And we're thinking about potentially maybe next year, probably this fall is a little busy, but finding a way to partner with them about, using poetry to channel big feelings that we have, or how to tie that in with activism. So I feel like there's just no shortage of smart, interesting people. Business owners, we haven't even gotten to that yet, but
so many business owners. I think one of the really cool things, well, I was just going to say, when we had our march this year, so every summer we do a march kind of right around the anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision. So usually it's actually in July, even though that decision was, I think,
end of June, early July.
End of June.
Yeah, July 2nd, I think this year we did
So we did that and actually featured one of the poems from her husband.
That's right.
Yeah. As we were kind of kicking off the march. But I just want to go back to when we first started. So 4 years ago when we first started and the Roe v. Wade decision had been made, we reached out to businesses. We had about 48 hours before this march we were going to pull together. We reached out to local businesses really in Sister Bay and like just barely the surrounding area. 30 businesses within 48 hours said, please, yes, we will sponsor this, put our name there.
Wow.
This is devastating for our nation, for our community, for women's health. And so as I just want to mention that, to Emily's point, there are so many businesses that understand the battle that we're all trying to fight, and they're willing to put their voice out there.
And I think it was the same number for our march this year.
Yeah.
27 or around,
right around there.
30.
Yeah.
So clearly this wasn't just you coming together, and this wasn't just individuals feeling like they needed to do something. This was businesses. This was fully your community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, one more short break, and when we come back, accessible activism. How can you do the work that you want and need to do in the spaces where it needs to be done? You're listening to the Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show on WGBW, WISS, streaming on the Civic Media app and podcasted on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Substack, or wherever you get your podcasts.
To their own. Sell me over your.
Welcome back to the Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show. I'm Dr. Kristen Lyerly, and I'm here today with Emily Kraynak and Sarah White. They are co-founders of Northern Door Activism, which is a community building organization in Northern Door County, appropriately named. And we're listening to Dorothy, help me. Scott, thank you. We're listening to the beautiful Dorothy Scott, who is like legendary up in Door County. And we're about to dive into accessible activism, how you can do the work that you want and need to do in the spaces where it needs to be done. So before we jump into that conversation, I just wanted to remind you that if you missed the beginning of our conversation, the origin of Northern Door Activism and how their work is intertwined with the unique culture of Door County, you can always find it wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Substack, all the places. And you can always find me on WGBW, WISS, and streaming on the Civic Media app. So, Emily, you introduced me to this phrase, but I've been feeling this way.
I made it up.
Did you? I Googled it and I didn't find it, so I think you did make it up.
Well, so it's funny because you were, the name is Northern Door Activism, as you said. It's like, that is what it is. But I think what maybe we can talk about in this segment is that word activism, which people have opinions about, right?
It can create discomfort.
It can create discomfort. Mm-hmm. People feel like, well, I don't want to be on the phone with my congressman's office. That sounds boring. Or I don't want to write a letter, you know? And I think what our group is working really hard to do is provide low bar and low bar ways to get involved, but also very different types of ways to, quote, be an activist, right? And challenge people's assumptions that activism is only writing a letter to your congressman.
Because the general assumption is almost like caustic in a way. Like if you're an activist, you must be political.
Right.
And you must be out there like with a sign like Gloria Steinem.
And you must be you must not have any fun, right?
Right. And that's not the truth.
We are having truly we've made so many friendships from this, not just with peers, people our age, but people younger and older than us. We've got a couple young teachers that we're working with on an event that Sarah's going to tell you about. It's really fun, and it doesn't have to just be those typical activists, whatever's in the dictionary. Like we're planting trees, we're doing clothing swaps, we're writing postcards, we're eating pizza. Like
we're sharing food with each other. I mean, it's so much fun. We're bringing each other flowers
and peaches.
Yes.
Yeah. You're redefining activism for a new generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about some of the events that you have coming.
Want to talk about Serviceberry really quick? Or should we talk about
Serviceberry first? Because that kind of lays the foundation
for the next one.
Yeah.
So our first annual community book club was in May this last year, which is a great time, I think, for our community. At the end of May is really when the doors open, and it's that busy season through basically October. Right before then, we requested that folks read a very accessible, pretty short book by Robin Wall Kimmerer, who wrote Braiding Sweetgrass. And she wrote this beautiful meditation on abundance and reciprocity in the natural world, I think is the subtitle. So it's like, how can we as humans mirror the abundance that nature has in the way that animals and plants give back to one another so freely? So we not only had a book club discussion where we talked about how we could be doing more as a community to replicate that, but we had folks bring bounty, whatever that meant to them, to the event. And it was we said optional, right? So like, of course you didn't have to do it, but we have a photo of the table. I think it was May, right? So we had daffodils, we had ramps, people made banana bread. One woman brought, she folded a bunch of origami jumping frogs. Yeah. People used photography, and they had bird and plant bookmarks. Like it was, and then you take what you need and you leave what you brought. And it created that was sort of the beginning of that event, which also just sort of everyone relaxed into it. And it created sort of an atmosphere that just made things really comfortable to then have some of these, not hard conversations, but more serious conversations. That was probably one of our coolest events, I think. And now we're like, really great. Cool. The bar is so high. What book are we going to read next year? But yeah, so we're bringing that bounty, that exchanging of bounty into an event that we're having on the 21st of September, we're calling it Buttons and Bounty. We did a little bit of fundraising. We're a 501c4 now. We raised some money. And Jocelyn, who we were talking about earlier, was like, we need a button machine. And I don't disagree. She's been experimenting with it, and we're going to have an opportunity at Peach Barn, which is the wonderful community space and brewery that Sarah and her husband own. Folks can come together to make activist buttons and to exchange bounty. So I'm imagining it'll be sunflowers and cherry tomatoes and zucchini, but also whatever else anyone might want to bring.
Origami frogs.
Yeah, but then so different than our 16th event, which Sarah, I think you should talk about too, since you're sort of spearheading.
But before you do that, let me just mention Sunday, September 21st at Peach Barn from 12 till 3.
And we will have the game on. We will have the Packers game on. We are not unaware that is happening. And very family friendly.
Yeah. And I think what is really neat, again, about accessibility is the buttons are whatever speaks to you. So activism can be clean water. It can be being a neighbor. It can be learning about other generations. Like there are so many ways to be an activist. It is not just these, heavy
Prop 4, whatever.
Yeah. And so I think that's what we're hoping to do with this event is really, I think our kids are already starting to come up with some really fun ones that they want to put on their backpacks, that we all have, shared common space in this. So we're excited to see what the outcome of that is.
This is so important because everything we do, literally everything we do is political. Mm-hmm. Education, housing, healthcare, it's all political, but politicians poison that and make us not want to engage. And that way they can control the atmosphere. So we have to be able to engage in a way where we feel comfortable, where we feel like we're elevating our communities and elevating each other. And that's your mission. That's what you're creating.
I think that is such an important point, Kristen. We all want good healthcare. We all want great education. We all want our kids to go to school in a safe environment. Yes. I mean, these are maybe we're all trying to figure out how we get there differently. And maybe that's where we need to come together a little bit differently. But I think so much of like the foundation of humankind is shared. And Emily talked about that a little bit at the beginning, but I think what you just said is so important.
I think the other piece of it is like, we know more about our hospital. We know more about our school. Like we are the experts.
Yes.
Okay. Our congressman will go to Washington and I guess, try to advocate. I may disagree with that, but we know Gibraltar area schools. We know the teachers. We know the kid. I mean, we know maybe every single kid in Gibraltar
and their birthday.
But like, I guess it's like, we have to sort of own that. And instead of just saying, well, it's political and I don't care. It's like, no, that's ours, and we want to be in charge.
You
have a voice.
100%. You also just made me think a little bit of a dovetail, but one of the coolest parts of what and Northern Door Activism has gained for us is learning even more about our community and learning even more about some of those, other groups that are out there, other important issues, other resources that exist that honestly I had no idea existed in our community. And that alone over the last couple of years has been incredible. So I just want to say that's another piece of this.
I think you and I would agree, like if we find that our work is ever redundant, we will close up shop. Like we don't want to just have the same type of thing that everyone else is. We want to plug in and promote the other types of events.
Yes.
And I think we were looking on our drive down, we've partnered with Climate Change Coalition. We've partnered with Northern Door Pride. We've partnered with our Indivisible Door County group. We've partnered with the woman Claire, who I'll give a shout out to keep her because it's my favorite shop in Door County. It's upstairs in the Cupola House in Egg Harbor. She focuses on sustainable clothing. We did a clothing swap with her for the community. Like we're not trying to say that we have all the answers, but we're trying to help get all the questions answered with the people that we have in the room or in the county.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, break down those barriers.
Yeah.
Because I think we increasingly are living in silos. COVID happened and we all retreated into our places and then things just started to fall apart more and more and more. And I think what you are so successfully doing is partnering and bringing people together with that common desire to create community and finding the common ground, the places where you want to make improvement. And how amazing to have a place, Peach Barn, where so many people recognize this is a place where we can go and be accepted and have a great time and make a difference in our community. And let's go back to have a great time because fun is really at the center of this. If this was boring or tedious or uncomfortable, you wouldn't be doing it. But what's actually happening is the work you're doing is blossoming and growing, and you're bringing more partners in.
And it has been really fun. I mean, we look forward to the events we're doing. And I think I'll talk about another event that's coming up. And the reason I want to bring this up now is because we had a heck of a time coming up with a title for this event because we were like, we care so much about this and we can make this fun and it does matter. But
public school financing is the topic.
Yeah. Oh,
how do you make that cool?
And so I think we spent like 30 minutes at SIP having, tea with the Indivisible team. And we're, just throwing out all the different ideas. And, they were all like public school financing 101, like how do, So, funding our future. How your tax dollars fund Door County Public Schools is where we landed. But we also talked about, smushed bananas in your backpack, because like what parent hasn't experienced that?
What would catch an eye?
What would make people want to come to this? But yes, we do try to make things fun. And I had read a couple of things during COVID. One was about what the world is going to need after COVID. And it was kind of exactly what you said. COVID did isolate us all so much that we all desperately needed that engagement in that community. And I think we're all feeling that now. I think that's something that we're starting to see. And then I actually just forgot the other thing. But
I can save you here. I have another quote from I put this in a newsletter. I read a memoir by a sheep farmer. Didn't think we'd be talking about sheep farming today. A woman who lives in Vermont, and she talks about going back to the land and trying to belong to it, right? But she has this quote that I think applies to activism too, and the quote is, belonging more than anything requires participation. So after COVID, we wanted to belong somewhere. We wanted to feel like we were part of something. Well, you can't do that by yourself at your home, right? Yeah. You have to get out there and you have to be engaged in the world and participate. And guess what? Usually it's fun. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you have awkward conversations, right? Where you disagree with something. That's okay. It's okay to disagree, right?
It is.
But I think the belonging, we do want everyone to belong. We actually do, and we want to find that common ground. But we have to participate in order to belong, and I truly believe in that.
It's critical. And the event that you mentioned, Sarah, Tuesday, September 16th at the Crest Pavilion in Egg Harbor.
That's right. And we're going to have Ann Chapman there, who's the research director at WASBO, the Wisconsin Association of School Business Officials, and then both Brett Stousland and Dan
Tjernickel?
Yes, from the superintendents from Gibraltar and Sturgeon Bay Schools will both be there as well.
Fabulous. All right, when we come back from this short break, the Northern Door Activism team is going to tell us how you can do this kind of work in your own community. This is Dr. Kristen Lyerly. You're listening to the Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
Walk back into your water.
This is the Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show. I am Dr. Kristen Lyerly, joined today by Emily Kraynak and Sarah White, co-founders of Northern Door Activism, a community building organization in, aptly named, Northern Door County. We're talking about accessible activism, and we're listening to Dorothy Scott. And just a reminder, Dorothy is going to be
at Wood Walk. She will be featured on Sunday, September 7th at 6 o'clock.
Awesome.
Woodwalk Gallery in Egg Harbor.
Woodwalk Gallery in Egg Harbor. And so many other amazing things are coming up as well. And we're going to mention two big events again after you help our audience figure out what's the next step for our listeners who are listening to what you're saying and thinking, I have a cool neighborhood. I have a cool group of people. I want to do this kind of stuff. How do I get started?
Well, I would argue first that even if you don't think you have a cool neighborhood or a cool neighbor, that there's still something to be done. I mean, seriously, right? Like, look around, right? Like, even if you're just like, this isn't where I wanted to be, or this isn't people move. My husband is military, so we've moved, right? And people end up in places where they don't necessarily get to choose. But I think that there are, like we've been saying this the whole episode, there's commonality. And I think looking for the commonality, not the perfect fit.
Yes.
Might be a good place to start.
And you get to create that. You all have the power. We all have the power to create community. It also, you can start small. You don't have to, it's very overwhelming. I remember when the last election results came in, I actually was in the emergency department that evening.
Oh,
thought I was having a panic attack, but it was another pulmonary embolism instead.
Oh, geez.
But rightfully thought I was having a panic attack, and I was, texting our Northern Door Activism group, who is also just a community from a mothering standpoint. I might need help with the kids today. I might not be back, and some of what. When we started to gather in December and we all started having these conversations, there was just this huge weight. I feel like all of us felt like we were carrying, and it did feel very overwhelming. And I think we all reacted different ways. But we realized we needed to come together. I think it was Emily who said, let's do a book club. Let's read this book.
We did the book swap.
Oh, we did the book swap.
Yeah, it wasn't even a club.
That's right.
We didn't even read a book.
That's right.
There was no homework.
Together.
It was
literally
it was in
on your
February
shelf.
because we were like, there's nothing happening.
Yes.
Everyone is so overwhelmed and exhausted. We had people over.
Yes.
You bring a book, you go home with a book.
Yes, and it was wonderful. And what happened there was a community was created. We all met somebody we didn't know. It was, again, low bar, right?
And that was, I think, bring a friend. Like we told people, bring a friend that that wasn't on this list.
Yeah.
You created a reason for humans to come together and see each other in person.
That's all it is. I mean, that's really all we're doing.
Yes. But then it spirals, right? So then people are like, wait, have you heard about this? Or do you want to go to that with me? Or, we really need to learn more about public school financing. And all these conversations just kind of start after that. And we have had many ideas that we throw out and we're like, nobody wants to pick it up.
We had some busts, right?
Yes.
Like it might mean that sometimes there's a weird event and no one comes. Like, I mean,
that's
it's
okay.
fine. It's fine. Keep going.
Yeah. Yes.
Like I can't tell you, this community book club that we talked about was in May and a bunch of people were getting ready. Lily, one of our members, she owns Happy Coffee up in Sister Bay, couldn't be there. So many other people said, God, I'm so sorry that I couldn't be there, but I am so glad that it's happening.
Yes.
That it's out there, that there's a chance for other people to go. And I try to remember that too when I'm like, is there anyone else out there? Or people, like there are. And I get them now as the person that responds to our emails. So I will also offer, if anyone has questions that's listening, contact at northerndooractivism.com. I would be more than happy, I know you would too, Sarah, to talk to anyone that's interested in trying to get something started in their own community, talk about our experience, because we have to learn from each other. We've learned from so many people ourselves, including you.
Yes. Or if you have ideas for us, we're open to that too. We're always learning.
And you're on Instagram.
We're on Instagram as well, Northern Door Activism on Instagram.
And let's talk about the two big events that are coming up. The Buttons and Bounty.
Yes. Well, first, maybe I'll mention the public school funding.
Oh, right. That one's first.
That one's first. So that one is called Funding Our Future. And that one is going to be held at Cress Pavilion on Tuesday, September 16th from 6:30 to 8 o'clock.
And who's going to be there?
And Ann Chapman from WASBO is going to be there, and both superintendents from Sturgeon Bay as well as from Gibraltar will be there. And a ton of community members are going to be there. This is an open invitation, non-political, nonpartisan, free event. We're hosting in partnership with Indivisible.
And it's going to, I just really quickly, we're going to speak to some of the federal changes, including, attempts to get rid of the Department of Education, what that means at a state level, the budget recently that was passed in Wisconsin, and some of how it's impacting not only public, but charter and private schools as well.
There's so much to talk about.
There's a lot.
So much.
Yes, and our schools are our foundations of our community. So if we can't fund our schools, if our kids don't have a safe place to go, what do we have?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it sounds maybe boring. Like
it's going to be great.
Yeah, what's more
we will make it fun.
Yeah.
And you're going to be together and fun.
Yes.
Fun is always at the root of it.
We will make it fun.
Yes. And speaking of fun, Buttons and Bounty.
Has anyone else ever been to a Buttons and Bounty event? I haven't. Again, I think we're making things up as we go. Sunday, September 21st at Peach Barn in Sister Bay. Jocelyn will be there with our new button machine. We're going to be making buttons for whatever activist cause you believe in, and we'll be exchanging flowers and bounty.
I love that.
Or whatever that means to you.
And the ladies brought flowers and peaches today, and I just am so excited about everything.
The peaches are so good. Go get it might be today. Do you have any peaches left?
Few boxes left at Peach Barn.
Go run to Peach Barn.
Peach Barn in Sister Bay, everybody.
Yes.
Emily, Sarah, the work that you do is so inspiring and beautiful and fun. And I'm so incredibly grateful to both of you for being here and for all of the stuff. Thank you.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for starting us on this journey.
Yeah.
Hey.
Thanks for inspiring us.
We're doing it together, girls. Yeah. Let's go. All right,
let's go.
Hey, I want to hear from you. Send me your ideas for topics, guests, music, whatever you want to hear. This is our conversation, and we can talk about whatever we want. And in the meantime, you can find me on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, Substack, all of them. And if you missed any of our conversation, you can always listen back wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next time.
My heart beat. I hear the sound, the train it keeps a rolling.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.